Okay, there we go. You know, every week it's something new with the audio, I swear to God. Anyway, welcome everybody to another IATSE gaming stream. It's me, your girl, Chrissy. Welcome to all the new folks. Glad to see y'all here. Also, glad to see some returning visitors like Stussy here. And yeah, unfortunately, I'm just not prepped to talk about the tentative agreement for the IATSE basic, but perhaps in a future stream we could talk all about it once I have more information. But yeah, so welcome everybody. We're going to be talking about good stuff in the realm of games today. Me and my pal Elvis over here. But yeah, for those who don't know me, for the new folks, and maybe even the old folks who have tuned in previously and I've just never introduced myself. My name's Chrissy. Chrissy cfellmeth, specifically. I am an organizer and international representative with the IATSE, which is the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, just in case you didn't know, aka the IA, aka the Entertainment Union. And I'm here to help folks who work in video games form unions. It's my job, and I could not be more proud to do this work. And I hope that if you are out there and have an interest in forming a union at your studio, that you and I can get together and talk about it so that I can help you in the best way that I know how. And have some experience doing that. I used to work in 2D series animation in New York, and I helped organize my studio, which was a place called Titmouse. We used to make, well, we still do, maybe, I don't know. We used to make a lot of Adult Swim shows like Metalocalypse. They're working on the new Beavis and Butthead series now. But we also did like kids shows like Disney Junior, which is kind of wild. What a wild spread. But I also feel like that's very similar to working games. You don't necessarily get to choose the project you're on. I was actually just talking about it today, how I used to work at a place called Late Night Cartoons. And we worked on the Our Cartoon President show, which was like a Trump show. And the content of the show was quite literally my least favorite thing in the world. But the people that I worked with were my most favorite people. I loved that job for the people that I got to work with. Not necessarily the work itself, which might resonate with some of y'all. But anyway, so this week, like I said, we're here to talk about the good news of games. Last week we kind of like went over some big headlines that were coming out. But this week I think we want to highlight some positives. Because we gotta hold our heads up high so that we could do this work. Stussy says Turner stuff has always been anti-union, and now that it's Discovery, that hasn't changed. Is HBO Turner? I don't even remember, but we were specifically working under like HBO stuff, and Stephen Colbert was kind of our boss. We worked in a studio above the Ed Sullivan Theater, around Times Square area, which was wild. Havoc Central, glad to see you here. First time to see you. Welcome. You're asking any advice for going from post-production audio to game audio. In terms of a career choice, I don't have specific advice for you because I've not done that. But if anybody in the chat has advice for that, like, please share, because we're all about help and support here. But glad to see you here. If you want to get into games work, let's form a union. I just got on the roster for Local 700. Congratulations. Welcome to Local 700. Glad to have you. Stussy says Turner had Adult Swim and Cartoon Network. Yes, true. And then they got bought by Warner. Yeah, everything, just like in games, everything's just getting bought up. And then like Paramount was gonna buy Warner Brothers or something. Like, can you imagine? It's just the like consolidation. Anyway, I digress. But let's talk about some good stuff. The first thing that I want to talk about that's good stuff is some stuff that our team worked really hard on. And shout out to Ben Spate, Mark Patch, and Maggie Kreisemotor, if y'all are watching, for the big win over at Apple TV. Their visual effects workers just filed to form a union with the IATSE. 17 workers that contribute to series including Surface and Government Cheese. I don't know what Government Cheese is. But stoked for them. Again, joining other folks in visual effects who have formed unions with the IA, including like the folks at Marvel and the folks at, oh my god, why am I drawing a blank on this? It's been a long day. I've been up since 6 a.m. So we're now 13 hours into my day, and this is the version of Chrissy you're getting right now. Marvel and Disney, yes. Oh my god, why am I'm literally looking at it right here. As well as workers working on the Avatar series. James Cameron's front. So it just continues to expand, and like it takes the work of so many people to get this done, but big power to the workers themselves for seeing it through. This stuff is tough. IATSE President Matt Loeb framed the ongoing contraction of the entertainment industry as a boon for organizing drives like the one at Apple. Folks have less to lose and much to gain from standing together. We are witnessing a powerful moment of solidarity and determination among visual effects workers, and IATSE stands ready to support them every step of the way. And you could literally change VFX workers to game workers, and that same sentence would still be true. Game workers have less to lose and much to gain from standing together to form unions. But congrats to them, stoked for them, and I can't wait to see their first contract sometime in the future. We'll see how Apple even responds. I don't know if they've gotten a solid response as to whether or not they have been voluntarily recognized or not. But this is from last Friday, so it's almost a week old. This week in the news. But also, other great union things happening in games. I wanted to talk about this article I saw come up today, which is SAG-AFTRA expanding into indie games, basically. It includes an expanded budget range for game projects to let union actors lend their voice or physical performance to more games from developers outside of AAA games. So I guess previously, for SAG-AFTRA, you were only able to work in the AAA sphere. But now they have basically created another tier for indie games that cost less to make. Under this new tier, more projects will benefit from the skills and experience of union performers, and performers will have more opportunities to work with the benefits and protections of a union contract, including important AI guardrails. They also mention in the article that SAG has basically written language to offer AI as with consent and compensation for it. So like AI versions of voices and characters, should an actor be okay with it. I know when that initially came out, it was a bit controversial for SAG-AFTRA members. I don't know if like the actual language has come out and therefore people are feeling a bit better about it, but this is great because it's more work for more people, especially in games. Expanding union work means that you are protected in more places, right? So having coverage in AAA is great, but you get hit up by like a AA studio trying to hire you for voice acting work, but your union contract doesn't transfer, So I think this is great news, especially for the SAG-AFTRA folks, but also for folks working in indie and AA games so that they can also use union actors. Use more union folks. In fact, form unions at your indie or AA studio, right? It doesn't all have to be AAA games, But also, I also saw this article. It's up here somewhere. Eves, and I'm probably gonna ruin his last name. Zephyr Zen says indie and AA's are rising lately too. Absolutely. I feel like there's a huge, especially with the, oh my god, I saw an article that was like the top, like now you can get real-time stats on Steam of like what the top games are, and I feel like I've been playing Stardew Valley for like a decade, right? It's still like in the top 2 slot on Steam, and that's just made by one guy, right? But like, it doesn't have to be a AAA title to be worth playing or valuable, But I love Stardew Valley. One of the first episodes we had, I was just talking about this the other day with our group of committee members, council members, and I feel like it was about a year ago we started this channel. So happy anniversary, everyone. How far we've come. Less audio issues, more finesse, and yes, totally agreed, Zephyr Zen. Good quality is what matters most in art. Whether like, and quality is also speculative. Doesn't have to be the Mona Lisa. Doesn't have to be the Sistine Chapel. It could be the drawing that your 3-year-old did. Anyway, I'm going to go on a tangent because I have so much 3-year-old art from my nieces and nephews. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this article about Eve's just Eves. I'm just going to call him Eves. Denouncing the racist backlash that happened after Assassin's Creed Shadows came out, which I don't know if you might have seen this Gimo. Gimo. Thank you, Havoc Central. Appreciate it. I should study a little French. I don't know if y'all saw this like tweet that Elon Musk made about it. Just despicable human being. I don't even know why I clicked it, but anyway. But this is really, I feel like this is really important because CEOs coming out to say this type of stuff, like being pro or anti for their workers, is huge. Imagine if Yves Guillemot, I'm probably not saying that right at all. I know I'm saying Yves right, because shout out to Yves from the Titmouse Committee, who's now, no, Yves is not a steward at Titmouse, but still working there. But anyway, I think that when, like, imagine if your CEO came out and said, hey, I'm pro-labor. Wow. You know, and I feel like I get asked that question a lot too, especially by like indie devs or folks who want to like start up their own studio. Like, how can I be pro-labor as a boss? It's like, well, you can say publicly that you are. You can let your workers know that you are. And you can also voluntarily recognize them as a union when they come to you and want to form one. Otherwise, it's not like you can like go in and say that your studio's union. That's not really how it works. Havoc Central says, did you see the AI generated Toys R Us commercial? Yes, I did. It was creepy and weird. And it looked like it was creepy. I didn't like it. Very uncanny valley. Yes. 100,000 million %. Stussy, I'm not sure what you're referencing with that. AI. Is AI being talked about in games to put in their first contract? You know, Stussy, I just want to say that like it's a huge issue, and I can't really reveal specifics of like what goes into the contracts that we're working on, but it's a huge concern, especially for creatives, as I'm sure a lot of folks in the chat tonight know and understand. But also, you know, when you think about like coding, AI is extremely useful. So to allow like one side of the conversation to dominate as opposed to considering both angles from it, it's a tough thing to navigate, but I can only imagine that, especially at a larger studio, that this will be a huge topic. But it's up to the workers to determine what it is they want in their contract, especially around AI. I could talk a little bit about the Titmouse contract because we wrote it technically before AI was as big as it is. Like, we actually we were about to ratify when like Midjourney got huge in 2022. But we wrote a clause in there called technological change, and if you go to the Animation Guild's website, you can look up the Robin Redbreast contract and look up the article that's about technological change and actually read the language. But it basically was there because in animation we often found that the software would change, and if we didn't know the software, then we were out of a job. So the clause states that if new software wants to be put into the pipeline, that we need to be retrained on it as opposed to being replaced. But again, that was before AI was a huge thing. So that's definitely, I think, like a jumping off point for that, but not necessarily like the exact language that game workers might want. But yeah, you're right, Stussy. That's where the issue is. We use it all the time. But generative AI is where the issue lies. Yeah, and there's huge copyright issues like now, like Sony, Warner Brothers, and another big AMPTP employer, which is the American Motion Picture and Television Producers, for anybody who's not sure what I mean by that. But a bunch of them came together to sue over copyright. So we'll see how that goes too. Amazing how they're quick to get involved in it, get involved in the fight against it once it comes between them and their profit margins. But I digress. But I really wanted to call out and say, good job, Eves. Keep speaking out on behalf of your workers. And Ubisoft is union in France, and I believe somewhere else in Europe, but not here in the States or in Canada. Fascinating that. Maybe we should change that. A lot of music labels are suing over AI generated music too. I believe UMG sued. I saw a thing the other day that UMG actually said to their artists, like, hey, we will, well, first of all, this is them wanting to make more money off of artists, not the reverse. So I would assume that UMG would want to sue in the instance that somebody's like making Katy Perry songs without Katy Perry and they're not making a cent off of it, you know. But they did basically offer to provide their artists with an AI version of their voice so that they like don't have to sing. Yeah, which I know I think we talked about this last week. I'm pretty sure we talked about this last week, but like, imagine training your whole life to do something and then getting really good at it, and so good that like you become a huge talent and are raking it in, and then just saying, you know what? Why don't you just let a computer do this? I was thinking about it late at night and I felt like, and listen, I'm a huge fan of this person, so please don't come for me. But I feel like if anybody was going to do that, it would be Mariah Carey. And I feel like y'all would agree. But that's just me. If there was going to be one person in entertainment who'd be like, yeah, you want to know what? Let a robot do it for me. It'd be Mariah Carey. That's the tea. Okay. Back to the news. Why don't we talk about upcoming stuff? Okay. So, Summer Game Showcase was, I think, 2 weeks ago at this point. Summer Game Fest, and I know most people don't like Jeff Keighley, but we're not here to talk about Jeff Keighley. We're here to talk about all the stuff that's coming out, which I am so stoked about. The new Zelda, where you get to play as Zelda. Can't wait. Also, love myself a good Mario Luigi RPG. Any Mario RPG, I am so down. Donkey Kong Country, basketball to Nintendo Switch Sports. Anyway, there is just an intense amount of games coming out in the next year. So while we are seeing all of this contraction in the industry, stuff's still getting made. There's still games to work on. It's not as though, and I don't have to tell you all this, y'all know this. It's not as though they're not going to stop making games. Ooh, Diablo 4's Vessel of Hatred expansion. But the work continues, and your work will be needed. All of this Xbox stuff, like I keep scrolling. There's the whole Sony section. I cannot wait for Silent Hill remake. Like, I'm a huge Silent Hill fan. But there's so many games coming out, and that's because there's so many things to be worked on. And like I said, even though we are seeing this contraction in the industry, that does not mean that the industry is actually out of work. Stuff is still getting made. Stuff will continue to get made. Things will come back. I got asked this question not that long ago, like, do you feel that the folks who got laid off because they got replaced with AI? And I was like, absolutely not. No. They got laid off because of stockholders no longer getting free money because interest rates went up. And they wanted to see if they could get more labor out of less people. Same game, less people equals more money in the shareholders' pockets. I also saw a thing, it was on More Perfect Union's page. I love them. If y'all don't follow More Perfect Union on Instagram or Twitter or on their YouTube, you should. It's a great source for finding out about labor all over the place. But they shared that the Ford workers will get like a 10,000 something profit sharing bonus this year. Imagine if game workers got profit shares. The game does so well. And I know like some game workers get bonuses, especially in like the AAA space. But imagine if it was like guaranteed to you and not dependent upon whether or not your boss felt generous. And this is harkening way back to like the beginning of like animation unions, especially in Los Angeles specifically. But Disney used to pay big bonuses when films came out, and like basically paid like profit sharing bonuses to workers, and then all of a sudden just stopped. And at that point, workers had like gotten so dependent on the bonuses and were working like ridiculously hard to get them that the sudden shock of no longer having them encouraged them to unionize. Wild. But imagine if game workers were able to negotiate for profit sharing as guaranteed. That'd be sick. The only way that we're able, well, not the only way, but one of the best ways, the best way that I know of, to get your boss to negotiate around that is to form a union. So, if you are out there and you're thinking profit sharing sounds sick, give me a slice of that pie. Scan this little QR code, or just go to gameworkers.org. Hit us up. Sometimes I feel like I'm on QVC. But also, I'm on hour 13 of my day. So, you know. What else did I dig up? Oh, speaking of more games work, Netflix is like really trying to get in on this. So like last week I think I talked about how Netflix had GTA 5 as like their top downloaded title. But now they're ultimately trying to get big in mobile games. But it has, quote unquote, larger plans. So while Netflix is still figuring out where it stands in the game space, so, you know, they're still sorting it out. They just know that they are very, very interested. And you want to know why? Because games makes multiple times more than film and television. And they know that. And they're largely non-union. So they don't have to deal with the IA in that space right now. But according to External Games VP, Vice President, Leanne Loomb, according to her, Netflix's 270 million subscribers are a fan of quick hit, quote unquote, snackable phone games. I feel like I saw a data set, it might have been from the IGDA, about how most women who play games are older and they play mobile. And I know y'all's moms are out there playing Candy Crush on their phone. My mom and I are actually a fan of the We Bare Bears game, which, again, that direct crossover between animation and video games. And also into my deep-seated interest in bears, the animal. But anyway, so playing games on your phone, they recognize that this is a huge thing. They're getting in it deeply. But they ultimately want to play the long game. So Netflix will redirect players to an app store if they click on a game in their feed. The aim is to make games playable wherever Netflix is. But they need cloud technology for that, so they're getting there. Several of its offshoot studios were formed to make games for the PC and console market. And it's also aiming to turn shows like Squid Game into games. Does this lead to an article that states that? Oh, Halo veteran Joseph Staten joins Netflix Games as creative director. So they're not getting somebody who made Halo for no reason. I'm thrilled to announce that I've joined Netflix Games as creative director for a brand new AAA multi-platform game and original IP. Let's go! Glad to see it, Joseph Staten. Who else is on your team? Fascinating. So much is going on at Netflix. Another big one that I saw. Not that one. Oh, this one. Also this one. It's a 2-for-1 with Amazon. Amazon Games is Christoph Hartmann thinks the company needs to build its own talent and focus on the console/PC market. Maybe they're following in the steps of Netflix. Maybe they're getting the idea, hey, Netflix, you're doing that? Maybe we should do that. Oh, look at that, right at the top of the article. It's just much more opportunities for the market to be on the PC market, on the console market, said Hartman. Not only does it best fit his past tenure at 2K and Rockstar, he offered that PC and console players take those titles more seriously than the mobile crowd. Very true. Like, if a new Candy Crush didn't come out, I don't think everybody's mom would riot. But when, like, the Zelda DLC didn't happen, or was told to us that it wouldn't happen. I was about to ask how much mobile games come into it. Yeah, for Netflix specifically, like, huge in mobile right now. Amazon has had a game studio for a while. But yeah, they're all playing June's Journey. Oh boy. Oh boy. I love that. That was a good one, Stussy. But Hartman ultimately wants Amazon Games to be one of the best publishers out there, which may involve making original games and ones based on Prime Video shows. Sounds so familiar. I feel like I'm living in deja vu land, just like watching the presidential debate tonight. Didn't we just do this? But another part of Amazon Games' strategy is keeping things in-house rather than buying third-party developers like Netflix has done. So they're not doing that part. They're gonna do their own thing. So, why not form an IA Amazon union? Why not? Stick it to Jeff Bezos. I'd love to. Oh, that'd be so sick. Anyway. So as you can see, like, what I'm kind of trying to show here is that, like, more corporations are getting involved in games. And that's for good reason. Yeah, Stussy, the Atlanta traffic, I'm sure, is misery today. There's a soccer game. There's a soccer game at MetLife today, too. I was in New York earlier. And driving home, it was like warnings all over the highway saying, like, take mass transit, soccer game. And here we are on our stream. There's just so much happening tonight. But ultimately, like, these big corporations recognize that games are a huge market. And they want their slice of the pie, too. So let's make sure that we get ours. So that we're not working at Amazon and getting abused by another corporate overlord. And get the rights and protections on the job that we deserve. The debate and the game are less than a mile apart. Wow. I feel bad for anybody stuck in a car in Atlanta right now. Yeah. But there's just so much good stuff going on. We don't have to focus on, like, the bad stuff in order to want to organize, right? Like, I think the working man folks are such a great example of that. And if you're new to the channel, hello. But Working Man Interactive is the first game studio that we've organized under the IA flag. And they're up in Rochester, New York. And they got a lot of great things. And they didn't organize because they were mad or because they felt abused. They organized because they wanted to maintain what they have and get it in writing. Because they got some great stuff. Like, I'm not going to tout all the wonderful things that they have up there, but they really like working there, and they wanted to make sure that it continued to be the same place that they liked working at and not turn into something that they didn't like working at. So just because you're happy doesn't mean that you shouldn't form a union. Because you're happy, you should totally form a union, because now you've set the standard for what you should continue to have. So let's keep it that way. Let's make sure that we're involved in the decision making over one of the most important things in our lives, which is our job. Sussy says, with the big corporations starting to make games, is that a positive, since it's almost like consolidation? They already have the money, being that Amazon and Netflix are signatories in film. Would that make it easier for games? You know, you could consider it as, I think it's a positive personally, because I don't find it to necessarily be consolidation in the game sphere. Like Microsoft buying Activision, a little bit of consolidation, in my opinion. You're ultimately under the purview of one company and their policies and executive board and their investors, who may or may not want something different from what you want, right? Whereas like Amazon and Netflix, I think, are kind of bringing in like a newer idea of turning their own IP into games. And not to say that everything already has to be an existing IP. I know that in entertainment, IP is always king. I heard that so many times. But it does bring different IP into the sphere, and you're ultimately under different terms than like a massive corporation like Microsoft, you know? And I think that the fact that Amazon and Netflix are signatories in film makes it so that those workers might want to form a union, because they've got that crossover. They've got that direct correlation between them and non-union workers, or between them and union workers, rather. So I also think that could be a positive. Great questions, Dusty. Yeah. Wonder, did I have other stuff I dug up? The Capcom Next Showcase will highlight 3 games next week, which this was just today, so Capcom still has to announce their stuff. Dead Rising and Resident Evil for iPhone mobile game. There will not be any updates about Monster Hunter Wilds, which is due out on PS5 and PC sometime next year. Oh, that's a bummer. Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific. Thirsty Suitors. I haven't heard of this game. Last year's skateboard cooking RPG has joined its roster of games, so Netflix just bought this game, expanding their library. The Case of the Golden Idol is now available. Joining it is Cozy Grove Camp Spirit, the Netflix exclusive sequel to 2021's Cozy Cove. Hearts and Netflix Stories perfect match. Subscribers could check out all these games right now. Hades, Grand Theft Auto, Oxenfree, and more. They've already got a ton. They're getting there. I feel like sooner rather than later, they're going to make that jump into the larger game sphere, PC console. But we'll see. Oh, I also saw this. I don't know if y'all ever used to like play Surgeon Simulator, but it was like one of the goofiest things I ever saw. Wasn't it? Was it originally an Adult Swim game? Can't even remember. That's so long ago. But Atari bought the Surgeon Simulator franchise and will hopefully be bringing new life to it. It resurrected Info Games to acquire IP and publish games that fall outside the core portfolio associated with its brand. Info Games tends to actively manage its catalog of titles by expanding digital and physical distribution and developing new collections and sequels. Consistent with Atari's approach, Info Games sees game preservation as a core component of its mission. Wow. I love that. Game preservation. It's history. Especially, and Atari knows that. Atari knows that better than anybody. But if you haven't played Surgeon Simulator, give it a go. It's not super graphic. It's very cartoony. Like, look at this heart. It's not, you know, it's okay. Silly, for the most part. Anyway, I feel like we've done a lot of digging tonight. I hope that some of this made you smile. If anything, maybe just a dumb thing that came out of my mouth. But we have hope. We got this. And we can move forward together. It's rough out there right now. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, right? And in order to make that light shine super bright, we should make sure that we have a say in its brightness. So let's get it in writing in the form of a union contract. And the best way to get started with that is to hit us up at gameworkers.org. Or just scan the QR code, go to our links page, and there's my contact info. There's our survey that's still there. There is just a simple contact and organizer form. You can hit that up. You can check us out on Instagram. You can check us out on our YouTube channel where we post restreams of all this stuff. So this will be up in the future. This week on YouTube, we premiered an old stream that we did with Carlos about AI. And our one-on-one training is also up there. It's right there. Like, you click on our YouTube page, and the first thing that pops up is our one-on-one training. So you can learn how to talk to your coworkers effectively to start forming your union. But of course, if you would like more assistance with that, a little bit more training on that, because that's like part one of a multi-part series of trainings. But if you'd like more assistance with that, you can always hit us up. That's what we're here for. We are here to help you and support you through your organizing campaign. We've got decades of experience behind us in organizing and entertainment and in other sectors to help you win your campaign the best way that we know how. And then get you a first contract, which, mind-blowing. So hit us up. I will be back here next week. No, actually, I will not. I will not be here next week. Y'all, I'm sorry. It is 4th of July. I am going to be participating in the Nathan's hot dog eating competition. I'm not. I will be in my own backyard just because I love hot dogs. But it's 4th of July, so we'll be celebrating America's independence. Maybe I will just play an hour-long video of a flag waving. But I think we're probably just going to take the day off. So I wish y'all a happy 4th. Part of freedom is your right to form a union. And so many more things about your rights as a laborer in this country come with that freedom. All right. Okay. I'm getting loopy because, again, like I said, I was up at 6 a.m. I hope y'all have a great week. We'll see you here in 2 weeks' time. Same me, different this, same you, talking about this. And we'll see you on the flip side. Bye.